Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AE Wealth Management and Becker Retirement Group are not affiliated companies. Becker Retirement Group is an independent financial services firm that helps people create retirement strategies using a variety of insurance and investment products. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to safety, security, or guaranteed lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investment products. Insurance and annuity product guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. Becker Retirement Group is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during the show shall constitute tax or legal advice. You should talk to a qualified professional before making any decisions about your personal situation. We are not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency.
This is Real Retirement Radio with Arwen and Randy Becker. With the Retirement News Network's Megan Mozak. With more than 45 combined years of advisory experience, Arwen and Randy founded Becker Retirement Group in 1999 with the understanding that retirement is more than just money. It can be the best time of your life. This is Real Retirement Radio on the Retirement News Network.
Glad to have you with us today here on the show. I'm Megan Mozak from the Retirement News Network alongside Arwen Becker. She's one of the founders of Becker Retirement Group. And each week here on our program, we dive into retirement, those big themes and questions that you're probably facing as you're thinking about this next chapter of life. As we start things off on the program, I want to make sure you have Arwen's phone number. If you hear anything on the show you have a question about, or if you're ready to sit down with her in one of her locations. And by the way, Becker Retirement Group, you can find them in Bellevue or Bothell. Here's the phone number, 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. Well, I don't know if you saw this headline, but this was pretty neat, sad at the same time, bittersweet. Emma Morano, a woman who died peacefully in her rocking chair at the age of, get this, 117. Now, wow. Yeah, I mean, this is an incredible story. She was the world's oldest person, but she was also the last known person to be born in the 1800s. Talk about a long life. And there's more than just Emma out there. In fact, there are nearly 500,000 centenarians. A centenarian is someone who's reached at least their 100th birthday. 500,000 centenarians living around the world. They're predicting, Arwen, that by 2050, we're going to increase that number 8 times.
Wow, that's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people.
That's a lot of 100-year-olds.
Yeah, a lot of candles to blow out. So, all of a sudden, living to 100, that doesn't seem so far-fetched. And if that's the case for you, if you've got a strong chance of living a really long life, you have to plan for it. You have to plan for that centenarian lifestyle. And Arwen's going to show us how to do that, how to be financially prepared for this growing possibility that you too could hit the ripe old age of 100. What do you see, Arwen, as you're talking to your clients? Is it difficult to encourage them to start planning for this, something that maybe seems as far off or unbelievable as living to 100?
Well, yeah, Megan, it certainly can be, because a lot of people just kind of go, well, I'm not going to live that long. They just make that declaration, and it's like, well, what if you do? I mean, having the fastest growing segment of the population, the 90 plus, it is something that we have to be looking at and planning for. And so I tell them, just plain and simple, as you had noted, the odds of a person living to age 100 or beyond are increasing. And, there's a lot of risks that we as individuals face over the course of our lifetime. I mean, we could lose our home to a flood, or we could possibly die prematurely, which is certainly something that we don't want to talk about very much, or being disabled and not being able to work, or, a number of different factors, getting into a car accident. So there's a lot of things that we deal with or could potentially deal with. But for people that are headed towards retirement, or maybe you're already there, living a long life sounds like this fantastic reward, like, yay, I made it. But there are serious risks associated with that. And that's really what we call in our industry longevity risk. And so it is a good idea for a lot of people to buy insurance policies to protect themselves from those other risks that I'd mentioned, like car insurance or disability insurance and things like that. But it's also a really good idea for people to protect themselves against longevity risks, the chance that you might run out of money. And so that's one of the things that we really want to talk about. And honestly, most of the people coming in to see us, Megan, that's their biggest concern, whether or not I'm going to have enough money And so really what we have to do is make sure that we are together helping to build kind of your own sort of longevity insurance. So, looking at that, because, you could live into retirement and have a retirement that lasts for several decades. I mean, Randy's Uncle Dan, he had a 41-year retirement, retired at 55 from Sears. Yeah, I know. 41 years. So he actually was retired longer than he worked when he was in small electrics at Sears. So it is definitely something that we have to prepare for.
Indeed. Not preparing for it could mean disaster, it sounds like. So
yeah,
let's talk a little bit about just your sense of how well people are prepared for this whole possibility, because it seems like for a lot of people, longevity risk, it might not be at the top of their list for concerns about retirement.
It might not be, but honestly, it should be. I always say at our seminars, longevity risk is actually the biggest risk that you have facing your retirement. It's not market risk. It's not inflation. It's not taxes. It's that you're going to live a really long life. And typically with longer years, you have a much higher increased possibility of needing some form of health care. So I had seen a study recently where only 10% of the individuals that were in the 50 plus kind of pre-retirees they surveyed, that they feel that they're financially prepared for retirement that could last 30 or more years. And really my goal today is to help change that. I mean, 10%. So we've really got to talk about this. So, but among the pre-retirees that I talk to every day, I sense that they do think about their longevity and what it means for them financially if they do live a really long time. And you know what, if maybe you're not there yet, honestly, that is one of the things that I really help people to think about. When we look at the planning software that we have, we're always talking about making sure that we can make money last till 100 or beyond that, because longevity, as I had mentioned, is the biggest risk that you face in your retirement. And you need to have a good handle on the fact that the money that you've saved your whole life is going to be there if you're married, your spouse live into your 90s or well beyond. So maybe this all resonates with you. If you're feeling like, gosh, I don't know that if I would have enough money to be able to last well into my 90s and beyond from that, that's why we sit down and talk with people. And that's why we would want to help you work through some of these things and be able to see it on paper to understand what longevity risk means to you. And if you've saved enough at this point to be able to retire and be able to live comfortably well into those advanced years. So if you've saved at least $250,000 for retirement, let's talk about your plan. Or you know what, maybe if you don't have one, let's build one for you. We call it your best life retirement plan. So give us a call at 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. And we'll schedule a time to sit down and work through that plan with you. We'll talk about longevity and what that means for you. And you know what? I promise you're going to find it extremely valuable. There's absolutely no cost or obligation. We would just love to visit with you and see if we could be assistance in helping you figure this out. So if you want to find out where you're at, as it relates to you currently or the future of your retirement, give us a call at 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. We're here to serve you any way that we can. And I promise you it's going to be a great experience. Again, that number, 800-725-8220.
If you've been looking for that partner, someone to link arms with on this journey to retirement, you're in the right spot, because Arwen, her husband, Randy, they'd love to help you. They have a great team standing by, and you can find out more at the website. Go to beckerretirement.com. That's beckerretirement.com. So as far away as age 100 might seem for us who are in our 40s, 50s, or 60s, what's a good way to start thinking about the prospect of living for a really long time, Arwen?
Well, yeah, I think it's really helpful for people to just start asking some basic questions about longevity. How does this look when I start getting into these more advanced stages? And, when I'm working at seminars and I'm talking to people about this, I always say that there's a big difference between investments and planning. And that's one of the common issues that I see all the time, I would say, with the majority of people who come in to sit and talk with us, is they have investments, but they don't know how those investments that they maybe have in their 50s and 60s are going to take care of them if they live into this advanced age of 90 or beyond that, into your hundreds. So, when you start looking at the numbers, it's really just the basics that we start to see. 65% of people age 65 will live to age 85, but 25%, a quarter of those individuals that are 65 right now are going to live to 95. And many of you are going to live well beyond that. And so you've got to make sure that you have a plan, because those are averages. But then if you're like many of the people we sit down with and you're active, you're healthy, you don't smoke, and you've got some good amount of assets saved, you could easily live 8 years longer than the average American does. And so that could be more like our gal that we were talking about at the top of the hour, Emma. You could live into your 110s or beyond that.
Which is just amazing, I know, for so many of us to think about. So what do you do? Do you encourage your clients to look at their family history, the genetics that are a factor here, or how long their other family members lived?
Yeah, I think that's a really good indicator. Actually, one of the seminars that I do, we really focus on this longevity piece, and all the people who attend actually do a how long will I live little test. And it's one of the big questions on there is, do you have somebody in your family who's lived into their 90s and has actually been healthy once they hit their 90s? And if you've got that one factor, it is a huge increase to the likelihood that you would live that much longer. So looking at people that, of course, in your family, which is partly why I think some people automatically, kind of just disregard that they're going to ever get to that age because they don't have people who've lived into advanced years. Longevity, as you think about it, really 30% of it only does come down to genes. So yes, we want to talk about that, and we want to look at who in your family has lived a long life, but you can't just assume because everybody's, passed away before the age of 80 that you're not going to make it into your late 80s or maybe even mid 90s. And so really it comes down to how we treat ourselves in our 50s and 60s and 70s, and really how we take care of ourselves is going to have a huge impact on the longevity, on our health, how much is going to drain our retirement assets. All of those things are really going to come into play. And you know what? There's a really just awful statistic that says that 80% of elderly poor are women, which, this is why I do these women's events, because I really want women especially to wake up to the fact that they do live longer. They know that. I think we all know that. We need to make sure that we're planning for not only if we're married, that there's enough to take care of our spouse if they need some health care, but that it's not going to leave us with nothing left over in the end. And so, statistics like that absolutely have to change. And since longevity is now the biggest risk to your retirement, whether you're married or not, whether you're male or female, it is vital to know with a degree of certainty that the money that you've saved over the course of your life, that it's going to be enough to cover those healthcare related expenses that you could face 20 years from now. And we want to help you determine if you're adequately covered. So give us a call at 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. And we're going to talk about some of the options that you might have for future healthcare coverage. And you know what? Honestly, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're talking about getting a long-term care policy, but there are many options available for covering future healthcare needs. So it's something you don't want to get wrong. I've seen people who've waited, and unfortunately they haven't been able to go back and change it at that point. So we want to make sure that you're taken care of now and for the rest of your life, whether you're married and you deal with the fact that a spouse might need some care. So we don't want you to be depleted of your household assets because of that as well. So let's get this addressed. Let's get it solved for you. So if you've saved at least $250,000 for retirement, give us a call at 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. And we will talk about your possible healthcare needs. 800-725-8220.
You have a pretty decent shot at joining the Centenarian Club. So how can you give your money a shot at lasting that long too? We'll dig into some steps you can take right now to stretch your assets for the long haul. That's next.
You're listening to Real Retirement Radio on the Retirement News Network. Saturday morning, drinking my coffee, checking my accounts, then that little voice in my head. What on earth are you doing? Why are you trying to be your own financial advisor? You don't know anything about the financial business. You got too much money at stake to do this by yourself. Too many people are counting on you. Sometimes you gotta listen to those voices. So I made the call. Monday, I got the call back and met with Arwen and Randy Becker. Just the three of us. Had my numbers, portfolio, basically everything, and they said, put that away. We didn't talk about what I had. We talked about what kept me up at night. What Karen wants when we retire. Don't want to let her down. I mean, we've been talking about it for years, and now here it is. We're not quite ready to retire, but we're ready to be ready.
Let's talk. Becker Retirement Group, 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. Investment advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AEWM and Becker Retirement Group are not affiliated companies.
This is Real Retirement Radio on the Retirement News Network.
Hi, Megan Mozak from the Retirement News Network. Always a pleasure to be here with Arwen Becker. Now, Randy, he's away today. You're kind of covering things for everybody, and it's a female-centric show, I guess we could call it, you and me together today. And we're going to keep talking about longevity and this risk that it poses to our retirement. It's an interesting topic. It's also an important topic, one that you really have to be aware of. I want to give the phone number if you have any questions about this topic or other issues surrounding your retirement future, 800-725-8220. You can get in touch with Arwen, her husband, Randy, the team at Becker Retirement Group. That number again, 800-725-8220. And speaking of it being a woman-centric show today, Arwen, you mentioned your ladies-only events, your female events. Before we dive back into our topic, just tell our listeners a little bit about that.
Yeah, I love these events. They are so much fun. And for any of you ladies out there, go to our website. You can see the dates in which we have those coming up. And really what we focus on is how health and wealth are connected. So whether you're married or not, I'd probably say more than half the women in the room are married. But we talk about longevity. I mean, really, that's what we focus on. What are the things that you can do now while you're in your 50s and 60s and 70s that are going to help be able to protect your retirement assets in the future, and really understanding the difference between having investments and an actual plan that protects you and healthcare needs and all of the things that often come up when you live into your 90s or maybe even beyond that.
And you cover a lot of ground at those workshops, Arwen. Longevity comes up. That's a big issue that people have to pay attention to. And we're talking about that today because, the odds of reaching the age of 100 actually higher than you might think. And I want to look at this financially. You've got to look at how much you have, how much in terms of finances you have. You also have to look at how much you might need in retirement, especially if that retirement is like Randy's Uncle Dan. And his lasted more than 4 decades. So you have to be prepared for that. I know another question we've got to be asking ourselves is, how much have we accumulated and what size asset base do we need for retirement, right?
Yeah, and that's such an interesting question. And I get it all the time at these events too, because a lot of people have an idea in their mind as to what that is. And it's just like planning in general. There's no standard one size fits all. I'm not going to say you need $1 million or you need $500,000 or you need $2 million because it's different for everybody. It's an overlay of income and expenses. And then the retirement assets are really what are going to carry the bulk of the difference between the two. And so I've seen literally on the same day, back-to-back appointments of one couple coming in. They had saved about $250,000 in their retirement, and then the next couple had saved $2 million. Well, once we had actually put together their plan, the first couple that had $250,000 saved, by the time they were in their late 90s, they had about $1.5 million. And this was still with very conservative rates of return. Whereas the couple with $2 million had run out of money in their late 80s. And so it's so much a piece of how you've got these expenses and income working together. So it really does take a retirement planner, somebody who focuses on the tax piece of it, inflation, healthcare, all of these things going together to be able to look at all of this. So, but if you think about some of the statistics, they say that, as we talk about longevity and all of the things going on with it, but retirement really is the biggest purchase that you have in your lifetime. So retirement costs 2.5 times of the average home, for example, which is pretty crazy. And some of the figures that were released this spring showed that the average cost of retirement has risen to about $738,000 per couple. But of course, that's going to vary widely from person to person, and things like lifestyle and what kind of health that you have and everything. So as I said earlier, I don't want to necessarily just say standard numbers because people can get really hung up on that. But $1 million used to kind of be the nice framework that people had in their mind. But for a lot of individuals, that might be closer to 2 million, especially in the area in which we live in. So it's looking at how all these work together.
So, Arwen, knowing that number, the size of the asset base you need to carry you through retirement, I'm guessing that means you've got to project out some retirement expenses.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We call that cash flow. So a lot of people come in, they don't really have an idea of how much they're spending. They just know they're maybe not overspending every single month, but we've got to start looking at these things because retirement, things kind of change. Day-to-day expenses might decline or even totally disappear. Certain ones, once you retire, maybe work clothes or certain things that lunches out or whatever that might be. Those types of things. And then maybe your house is going to be paid off by the time you retire, so you won't have that monthly mortgage payment to worry about. So those are the things that we always want to have built into the plan and have payoff dates. But then you go to the other side and we really need to calculate what your net worth is. So that's adding up those things like retirement accounts. That could be IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, things like that. Then you have your investment portfolios. That would include things like stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, your home, any other real estate rentals or cabins or land that you might have. For some of you out there, you might have a value in a business or insurance contracts, and then any other assets that you own. So then we compare one side of that ledger to the other and the assets you project to have versus the expenses that you expect to have. So that's the beauty of working with a planner that works specifically with retirement, people that are in retirement as we do, because of the fact that we kind of have this clear idea of the things that we see over and over and over and over again, but for you, it could be very different. So it's looking at how these things go together. You look at these calculations, of course, we've got to put in inflation and other assumptions that have to do with the internal growth rates on those investments as well. But we're always going to err on the side of conservative. So that means lower rates of return, higher inflation, lower cost of living, all the things that are going to put a little more pressure on your overall plan. But really, that is the biggest question that we get. How do I know that I'm ready to retire? And if so, that I'm not going to run out of money? That's really what we're talking about on today's show. And that is a question that we help people answer every single day. Protecting what it is that you've worked your entire life to accumulate, that is our number one job. And we tackle that all the time, and you shouldn't tackle that by yourself. So you want somebody who really does specialize only in all things retirement, as we do. So if you've saved at least $250,000, let's talk about your plan. Give us a call at 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. And we're going to schedule a time to sit down, and we're going to work through what we call your best life retirement plan. And I promise you that you're going to find it extremely valuable, and there's absolutely no cost or obligation. We would just love to visit with you and see where we could be of assistance. So if that's you and you feel like that relates to your future and your retirement, give us a call at 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. We are here to serve you any way that we can and make it a great experience. Again, that's 800-725-8220.
As they say, the time is now. Don't let another day go by without doing something proactive for your retirement future. Arwen and Randy would love to meet you. Sit down and begin planning for that successful retirement. Here's that number again, 800-725-8220, and online at beckerretirement.com. Arwen, eventually, once retirement hits, it really does become a matter of converting assets into income, and that takes a strategy, right?
Oh my gosh. Yes, it does. So, what you need to do is you need to look at this clearly. Are you going to have enough income to cover your expenses and to fund the lifestyle that you want to live? Not just enough to barely pay the bills, to make sure you still actually get to do the fun stuff, especially on those early years where you've got your health on your side. So you've got to have somebody who can help walk you through this so you can see it clearly about how much money you're going to need month after month, year after year. There's a statistic from one of the other seminars that I do Smart Couples Finish Rich, Smart Couples Smart Retirement. And it says that 73% of couples disagree on whether or not they have an income plan. And that means just a solid plan that is clear, black and white. Ours is actually in color, even better, but black and white that's going to tell you this is the amount when you're 85 with the expenses that you're carrying and inflation and taxes and all these other things going. And this is what you're going to be expected to need to cover all of that stuff during retirement. So really, you're looking at an overlay of all these income sources, that's Social Security and how that fits in with everything, your retirement accounts that you have, your IRAs, things of that nature. Some of you are still fortunate enough that you're carrying a pension, and God bless you for that, because, I don't care if it's only $100. That is $100 that you're not having to deplete out of your retirement assets again for what could be 30 years. And then the investments you have, any other income, part-time income from fund work that you're doing, rental properties, or maybe you've got some income coming in from an annuity. So it's looking at what is a reasonable rate to be spinning down those assets so that they're there as long as you need them. And that is the whole role in which we play to help you plan for this. But you know what? You had mentioned, Megan, about having that income strategy. And you know what? You're totally right. No matter how long you expect to live, you're going to need to know relatively clear how much you're going to spend down your assets that you have worked to accumulate over all those years, and to have a game plan for this monthly income, and to make sure that it's very clear and that it's constantly updated. And I just can't believe so many people heading into retirement don't have that clear blueprint that's going to show them that. It's going to see, the things like when we talk to people that are in their mid 50s, and we're talking about their tax bill that they're going to be paying in their early 70s, and they're not thinking about that, but we are. So it's looking at all of these things together and understanding that there is going to be enough money there to last throughout your lifetime. So with retirement looming on the horizon, or quite honestly, maybe it's already upon you, it's absolutely vital that you know with a degree of certainty that you're going to have enough money coming in month after month, year after year. And it's not just to cover your expenses, but to help you live those dreams and goals that you've been delaying until retirement, when you have great health on your side to be able to go do. Helping you pay for your bills, I always say it, that is the basics of a retirement planner. But helping you live your dreams and your best life, that is the main focus of Becker Retirement Group. So give us a call at 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. And we're going to start working through your best life retirement plan. There's absolutely no cost involved in us building it for you, so you have nothing to lose. So if you've saved at least $250,000 for retirement, give us a call and we'll schedule your initial visit to work through your specific circumstances and to put a dollar figure on those dreams and those goals and those things that you want to accomplish in retirement. So give us a call at 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. Please don't wait. Call now.
Reaching age 100 with adequate income, that means managing your retirement assets wisely now. And we're going to talk about ways to help stretch what just might be the most important retirement asset you own. That's straight ahead.
You're listening to Real Retirement Radio on the Retirement News Network.
Concerned about missing the boat to a confident retirement? Don't worry. It's never too late to establish your relationship with a financial professional. In fact, if you've already retired, it may even be more important to have a reliable, trusted advisor help keep your retirement strategy on track. Act today. Optimize your time horizon, your recovery time, and take advantage of available opportunities to develop your overall financial strategy. Don't walk alone. Choose to work with an independent financial professional. Why not start today?
If it's important to you to get started today to refine your retirement strategy, give me a call. I'm Arwen Becker with Becker Retirement Group. Let's sit down together and look at your options. Call me at 1-800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. By contacting us, you may be provided with information regarding the purchase of insurance and investment products.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Saturday morning, drinking my coffee, checking my accounts, then that little voice in my head. What on earth are you doing? Why are you trying to be your own financial advisor? You don't know anything about the financial business. You got too much money at stake to do this by yourself. Too many people are counting on you. Sometimes you gotta listen to those voices. So I made the call. Monday, I got the call back and met with Arwen and Randy Becker. Just the three of us. Had my numbers, portfolio, basically everything, and they said, put that away. We didn't talk about what I had. We talked about what kept me up at night. What Karen wants when we retire. Don't want to let her down. I mean, we've been talking about it for years, and now here it is. We're not quite ready to retire, but we're ready to be ready.
Let's talk. Becker Retirement Group, 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. Investment advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AEWM and Becker Retirement Group are not affiliated companies.
This is Real Retirement Radio on the Retirement News Network.
Hi, glad to have you with us today here on the program. I'm Megan Mozak from the Retirement News Network. It's a pleasure to be here with Arwen Becker, founder of Becker Retirement Group. And I want to give the phone number if you have any questions related to our show, or if you'd like to use the number to set up a visit with Arwen, her husband Randy, the great team at Becker Retirement Group. Call 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. 8220. You know, living until age 100, it could end up being a reality for a lot of us. We've seen a really cool advances in healthcare, medicine. We're all worried about our health. And so we have this renewed focus on just being healthy and well, extending our lifespans. It's great news. But it also means you need to plan for what could be a really long retirement. And I'm guessing if you're listening today, there's a pretty good chance you've got a retirement account, right? Maybe an IRA or a 401k through your work. It's probably going to be your bread and butter in retirement, along with some other sources of income. That's really what you're going to rely on through retirement. So, Arwen, what are some things that we should think about doing right now to give those specific assets just a better chance of lasting to age 100?
Yeah, there are some big decisions and some of them are irrevocable. So we want to make sure that we do our best to get them right. And you're leading up to retirement. One of the biggest questions that people have, certainly in their own mind, is how do they handle the assets that they've accumulated in their retirement accounts? So let's first talk about pensions. You know, pensions, that's what we call is a defined benefit plan, which really means the benefit that you're going to receive is defined by the employer, not by you. But as I always say, is pensions are going the way of the dodo bird. So they're not really in existence much anymore. You know, only about 2% of workers in private industry are participating in this type of defined benefit plan or pension. But still, we see a lot of people who are in government and the public sector that have access to a pension plan, and that's fantastic. It is some of the best retirement income that I see for people. But you have to start looking at how am I going to use this and what kind of stream of income is this going to provide for me? And the beauty of it is guaranteed. So in many cases, that income is delivered in the form of a monthly benefit during retirement. And the amount that's, typically based on your earnings history, how long you've been at the company, your age, things of that nature. And then certainly there are also survivor benefits. So the amount that you're going to take out or receive monthly will also change and decrease if maybe upon your passing, 50% of that benefit is still going to go to your remaining spouse, or maybe even 100% of that benefit going to your remaining spouse. So there's a lot of different factors that come into it. So people with pensions often have a choice that they need to make before they retire. Are they going to receive the benefits in a lump sum when they retire? Or are they going to have that as a steady stream of payments over the course of their life and then possibly their spouse if they happen to pass away?
Arwen, let's talk then about if someone is lucky enough to have a pension. What do you recommend there? Should they take the guaranteed monthly income or should they elect to have that lump sum?
It's the standard answer, Megan. It depends. It depends on the plan. You have to see how it all works together. We had 2 Boeing retirees or almost retirees that were offered what they call the VLO, the voluntary layoff offer. And so they were given the option to take their entire pension with them or to have it continue paying or start paying out in this annuity type of payment every single month. And back to back, I mean, within the same week, we helped them come to decisions, and both of them were different. One, it was best for them to take the pension, roll that out in the lump sum, and to utilize it because of the fact that they were dealing with health issues that might cause them to have a shorter lifespan. And so it gave them more flexibility. Whereas the other couple, very, very, very healthy, and it made more sense for them to keep it at the company. So there's a lot of different factors that come into it. And certainly when you're looking at setting up a pension, which is that guaranteed lifetime income stream, you're going to kind of look at it. How does that overlay with Social Security, and when does Social Security start, and other investments that you have or other income? So there's a lot of different things, and a great financial planner is going to help you decide which option is best for you before you make that decision. But, maybe you're like many of the people that we see coming in these days and you don't have a pension. And so that's a pretty typical thing that we see. You have this big chunk of money you've accumulated during your working years, and now you need to become an expert at distributing that back to you for the rest of your life. And that can be a really overwhelming and daunting task. But it isn't for us. We walk people through this landmine every day. Let us help you do the same. And you know what? There might be investment tools that really can help solve this issue for you. Could be an annuity, could be a diversified income portfolio. We won't know until we meet and discuss your specific situation. So if I've described you, give us a call at 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. And we'll talk about some of the options that you might have for consistent, reliable income throughout your retirement. And as I said, you don't want to get this wrong. We want to make sure that you're taken care of for the rest of your life. So if you've saved at least $250,000 for retirement, call us at 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. And we're going to sit down and we're going to work through your customized best life retirement plan. We promise that you're going to receive something of great value, even if you don't become a client. And you know what? Most people don't, and that's okay. We've been serving the East Side in Seattle for over 18 years, and we would love to assist you any way that we can. Give us a call at 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220.
You can also find Arwen online. She has a great website for you. Check it out. Go to beckerretirement.com. That's beckerretirement.com. Now, what if I don't have a pension, but I do have a 401k or an IRA? What can I do to stretch the assets in those accounts so they're capable of lasting till 100?
Well, I kind of just mentioned that there are some different options that we have with 401ks and IRAs. For the majority of the clients I would say the vast majority of clients that we see coming in, keeping it at their 401k is not the best option. You lose control. You have many limited investment options. And you don't have a dedicated planner that can make sure that you're staying on top of beneficiaries and helping you with this tax burden that many people face once they hit 70 and a half, which is called your required minimum distribution. You got to get that one right, Megan, because it's the largest penalty in the tax code as well. So if you get it wrong, you get dinged 50% of the amount that you were supposed to take out. Yeah, that's a big amount.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you get it right. And a lot of people aren't thinking about that. The year following the year you turn 70 and a half, and you don't do it on the 15th of April, you do it on the 1st and blah, blah, blah. It gets really complicated. So oftentimes leaving it at a 401k is not the best option to be able to have this kind of ongoing income to last you well into your 90s, into your 100s. So a lot of times we're wanting to help people, as I said, either utilizing a diversified income portfolio. We have a fantastic institutional money manager that we utilize that really specializes in risk management. And sometimes that's a really great tool and portfolio to utilize and to have income spinning off month after month. For some people, utilizing an annuity. Now, we only work with certain types of annuities. We do not use variable annuities because they bear risk. And typically people are wanting to get out of that as they move into retirement. But something like a fixed indexed annuity, which has some great upside potential, can have guaranteed streams of income, but also have no downside risk if the market goes through, like what we did in 2008. That was such a saving grace for a lot of our clients. So it's really, again, looking at how the overall plan works, what your feelings are on certain things, and then finding something that we can co-create with you that's going to help bring in this income month after month, year after year for the rest of your life.
Arwen, when you said a 50% ding, that's a penalty, and that's 5-0. That's half of what you have. How do people recover from that? I mean, you've got to get that right.
You do, Megan. And so that's one of our big focus right around September. So looking at our clients, all of the IRAs, 401ks, and all the stuff that they have, and helping to make sure that it gets done right. A lot of our clients, it's just about automating it. So it's never something you have to worry about and focus on. But again, why do you work with a retirement planner? Because oftentimes when I sit down with somebody, or anybody in our office sits down with somebody, when we're talking about their tax bill as they get into their 70s, if they're in their late 50s or even early 60s, they haven't even thought twice about that. So if you're working with somebody who doesn't focus on retirement planning, they might not really be focused on that either. But when we're walking through 70s, 80s, 90s, and beyond with individuals, we see how frustrated an 80-year-old can be when they're paying more in taxes at 80 than when they were in their 60s. And so oftentimes there's different pieces that we can utilize and kind of plan with when people are in this mid-time, kind of in their 60s. Maybe they're not working, so they're not pulling down as much income. Social Security hasn't turned on, or pensions haven't turned on. And we call that an income gap. And so the income gap oftentimes is a really great time to start utilizing some of those qualified monies, the IRAs, the 401k type of money that you haven't paid taxes on. Start realizing some of the tax when you're in a lower tax bracket. And that in turn will help reduce that future tax bill that you have when you have to start taking it out when the IRS is kind of the IOU to the IRS, your RMD. That's when you start being able to reduce your future tax bill. But once you get into 70 and a half, you're going to be much more limited. So we always want to make sure that we're looking at all of these pieces and that they're working together, because oftentimes the required minimum distribution can be utilized as your income when you get into your 70s as well, because you have to take it out anyway. So a good planner is going to make sure you're only taking out as much income as you have to and not more than you need to. So looking at all of these, making sure you're not coming up short is a really big part of that planning process. And we want to make sure that you have this best life retirement plan where you can look at it, know how much you're going to need month after month. So getting that evaluation, that's why we're here. So if you've saved at least $250,000 for retirement, be one of the first 10 callers right now at 800-725-8220, and we're going to start working on this. That's 800-725-8220. It never hurts to get a second opinion on your retirement plan. And if you don't have one, let's get started. Call now, 800-725-8220.
To get your money to last until age 100, you need to make smart decisions about investing, Social Security, and healthcare costs. Arwen help you through some of those key decision points coming up next.
You're listening to Real Retirement Radio on the Retirement News Network. Saturday morning, drinking my coffee, checking my accounts, then that little voice in my head. What on earth are you doing? Why are you trying to be your own financial advisor? You don't know anything about the financial business. You got too much money at stake to do this by yourself. Too many people are counting on you. Sometimes you gotta listen to those voices. So I made the call. Monday, I got the call back and met with Arwen and Randy Becker. Just the three of us. Had my numbers, portfolio, basically everything, and they said, put that away. We didn't talk about what I had. We talked about what kept me up at night. What Karen wants when we retire. Don't want to let her down. I mean, we've been talking about it for years, and now here it is. We're not quite ready to retire, but we're ready to be ready.
Let's talk. Becker Retirement Group, 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. Investment advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AEWM and Becker Retirement Group are not affiliated companies.
The sooner you establish your relationship with an independent financial professional, the better. Why? That longer time horizon can give you more flexibility, broader product choices, more time to respond to market changes, more time to take advantage of opportunities, and more time to coordinate your entire financial strategy. Those are powerful reasons to get a professional in your corner while you're still working. Don't put off planning for your retirement. Choose to work with an independent financial professional. Why not start today? It may even help you retire earlier.
If it's important to you to get started today to refine your retirement strategy, give me a call. I'm Arwen Becker with Becker Retirement Group. Let's sit down together and look at your options. Call me at 1-800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. By contacting us, you may be provided with information regarding the purchase of insurance and investment products.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
This is Real Retirement Radio on the Retirement News Network.
Hi, I'm Megan Mozak with the Retirement News Network. Glad to be here with Arwen Becker of Becker Retirement Group. Her number, if you need some help planning for retirement, 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. We're talking today about the steps you can take to make sure that your income lasts until age 100. And, there is a part of the puzzle of retirement, of course, Social Security, Arwen. We've got to figure that part out. And since we're focused on making our income last over a long retirement, any suggestions for how to take our Social Security benefits?
Oh, sure. But, this is the one that always just kind of gets me really quick, Megan, is Social Security, when it was designed and was implemented, the time in which people started getting their benefits the age was 65, but the average life expectancy of individuals at that time was 62. So obviously they didn't expect that people were going to have the kind of longevity that we're facing now. And so how you manage your Social Security is really a huge piece of this. And you have to do it wisely because it can be irrevocable. There are a few little things in there, but so if you're approaching retirement, you really need to start thinking about how am I going to be taking these Social Security payments? And while you can start taking them at 62, that's not always in the best interest for individual clients. Full retirement age, or FRA as they call that, for most individuals is 66 or 67, depending on the year in which you were born. And then that's when that full retirement age is when you're entitled to that full or the unreduced Social Security benefit. And so for some people, taking it at FRA is the right thing to do. For some people, delaying it can actually be more beneficial because every year past your FRA, it's an 8% increase to you. So if you're full retirement age, you're receiving 100% of a benefit, you could delay it up to age 70 and you would have 135% of your benefit. So a lot of times people just assume that delaying it is the best option. Again, it comes down to how does that work with the plan? Because I also have clients come in too where Social Security for their plan to work kind of looks like an afterthought. It's really not what hinges on the success or failure of their overall plan. So for some people, I love saying, you know what, take it early. Because Megan, I know you just like me. If I was giving you an extra $1,400 a month for say 4 years, you could probably figure out something fun to do with it. You know what I'm saying?
No problem.
Yeah, exactly. And same thing for me. It doesn't mean that people are going to necessarily take that advice, but you don't always know. So looking at how all of this works together, whereas there are certainly individuals who have a lot of longevity, maybe they're working well into their 60s, maybe in their late 60s, delaying until 70 is the best choice because they get a much more healthy Social Security benefit. So again, it's seeing how it all works together, seeing that overlay with the expenses and other income you have, and making sure that you really think about that choice because that decision often is irreversible.
Okay, so let's keep talking in this area. Is there another place where an action we take now can reverberate well into retirement, even all the way to our 100th birthday?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the one that a lot of people want to avoid talking about, and that's healthcare. We're seeing the biggest amount of cost shifting in our nation's history for things that used to be covered by Medicare that are now needing to be covered by the individual. And when we look at this, the statistics are absolutely staggering. And when I give these at my events, oftentimes people will stop me and ask me to repeat it because they just can't believe that. So it's estimated that a healthy 65-year-old couple retiring today is going to, on average, pay about $375,000 in lifetime out-of-pocket retirement healthcare expenses. So again, this is things that are not covered by Medicare, and this is not including anything having to do with long-term care. So this is co-pays, this is deductibles, this is a number of those different expenses that used to be covered in years past. And so all of that extra expense of $375,000 is all after the age of 65. If you're 55 and you're retiring in 10 years at 65, you could pay a total of $466,000 in healthcare related expenses from age 65 on. And that is astronomical. And then when you couple that with the average rise of healthcare of more than 5% a year, that's absolutely staggering. And when we look at this piece in our planning software, I don't skip over this. And a lot of times I see with people who've maybe met with a planner, they don't really talk about this clearly. And I want couples to be able to see how vital that component is of, am I going to have enough money? And that's why growth is still a very important component in an overall plan. I mean, we're not just talking about conservative, safe investments. Most people need to have some form of growth investments. Those that are invested in the market that are going to be much more beating inflation and beating a 5%, and being able to do that long term, because not only inflation is that going to be a part of it, but we need to have assets there for these long years and healthcare in the future. So as we've been talking over and over, longevity is now the biggest risk that you face in your retirement. I mean, in the year 1900, the average life expectancy for an individual was the age of 47. So retirement, as we know it, did not exist less than 120 years ago. So we've got some things that we've got to look at. And if you've accumulated all these assets during your working years, you need to know how they are going to be there for you in the future, and that they're going to protect you against healthcare and longevity risk and all of these different things that we've been talking about today. And we want to make sure that you are covered adequately. So give us a call at 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. And we'll talk about some of the options that you might have for future healthcare coverage. So as I was saying, it's not necessarily that we're going to talk about long-term care policies, but for some of you, that might be it. For some of you, it just might be some different add-ons. There's a lot of different things that we can do to help protect you, but you've got to have these discussions early in retirement. You can't delay, and it's something you don't want to get wrong. So if that is you, let's get this addressed and let's get it solved. So if you've saved at least $250,000 for retirement, give us a call at 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. And we're going to sit down. We're going to work through your customized best life retirement plan, which includes a deliberate discussion of your possible healthcare needs. That number, 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220.
I also want to share with you Arwen's web address. If you haven't visited, make sure you do. Go to beckerretirement.com for more information. Now, speaking of longevity, we are just about out of time here on the show. But Arwen, before we go, give us another key to address longevity risk so your income does last no matter how long you live.
Yeah, definitely. And this is what I was just mentioning about the investment. So you've got to have an investment mindset. A lot of people are just kind of ready to get out of the market and they're like, okay, now I want to protect my assets, but we've got to get some growth. And so the more, certainly the older you get, the more conservative you need to start to be, but we can't just abandon the market altogether, especially as it starts to experience more of the volatility that we've seen. We've just got to adjust your assets. It's just called a reallocation. We've just got to adjust them a little bit and make sure that you are not as volatile of a position, but still positioned for some great growth that's going to protect you against this longevity risk that you have, and make sure that we have some healthcare protection for the future if you need it. And so we work with an institutional money manager, which what that means is they only work with Fortune 500 companies and pensions for states and universities and things like that, and high net worth individuals. And really the main focus ultimately is on risk management, because we want to have the upside of the market. We understand anything that's invested directly in the market is going to have risk associated with it, but we want to make sure that our due diligence on those investments is so deep and thought out that we know that it's going to be beneficial for you to be there, because those are the longer term assets. Those are the assets that we're not pulling income out really near term and things of that nature. So I love the fact that we've got that. And then that's a piece of the planning puzzle and seeing how it all works together. And we have an amazing risk tool to be able to identify kind of how you feel about risk and really what your risk tolerance and what the capacity in your retirement is with that risk. So seeing how all of these come together, whether it be dividend paying stocks that can be a great source of income during retirement, there's a number of different things that we can do to help spread the risk, have great diversification, fewer holdings, which provides simplification because a lot of retirees are looking for simplification the older they get, and also making sure that we're looking at lower internal costs, because any internal costs that you have on those investments as well, that's taking money out of your long-term retirement too. So seeing how it all works together is going to help you, because we want to make sure you've got some great growth potential as well. So as we talk about that risk, one of the most common issues that we see coming in for people who are about ready to retire is that they are heavily invested in the stock market. And the thing is, that is totally normal. You've spent your 20s and your 30s and your 40s accumulating and growing your assets. And now it's really time to start protecting them. Our number one priority as a company is preserving what you have worked your entire life to accumulate. So if that matters to you, please give us a call and we're going to sit down for your initial visit. We're going to talk about the proper amount of risk to retain in your retirement. So if you've saved at least $250,000 for retirement, give us a call at 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. And we're going to do a thorough risk assessment. That's of your current plan. And then to also help educate you on what the proper balance of risk is and safety. And, look at those things as you're heading into retirement, or maybe you're already there. Diversification is key, but so is minimizing volatility. And there's a big difference between your risk tolerance, that's the emotional capacity you have, and your retirement plan's risk capacity. That's how much risk your overall retirement can really take. And we want to help you know the difference. So there's no cost associated with this. And having us do this kind of analysis, it would be our absolute pleasure to do it. So we'll give you some clarity, give you some direction. I urge you to pick up the phone and give us a call at 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. We're here to serve you any way we can.
You've been listening to Real Retirement Radio on the Retirement News Network.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AE Wealth Management and Becker Retirement Group are not affiliated companies. Becker Retirement Group is an independent financial services firm that helps people create retirement strategies using a variety of insurance and investment products. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to safety, security, or guaranteed lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investment products. Insurance and annuity product guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. Becker Retirement Group is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during the show shall constitute tax or legal advice. You should talk to a qualified professional before making any decisions about your personal situation. We are not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency.
Saturday morning, drinking my coffee, checking my accounts, then that little voice in my head. What on earth are you doing? Why are you trying to be your own financial advisor? You don't know anything about the financial business. You got too much money at stake to do this by yourself. Too many people are counting on you. Sometimes you gotta listen to those voices. So I made the call. Monday I got the call back and met with Arwen and Randy Becker. Just the three of us. Had my numbers, portfolio, basically everything, and they said, put that away. We didn't talk about what I had, we talked about what kept me up at night. What Karen wants when we retire. Don't want to let her down. I mean, we've been talking about it for years, and now here it is. We're not quite ready to retire, but we're ready to be ready.
Let's talk. Becker Retirement Group, 800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. Investment advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AEWM and Becker Retirement Group are not affiliated companies.
The sooner you establish your relationship with an independent financial professional, the better. Why? That longer time horizon can give you more flexibility, broader product choices, more time to respond to market changes, more time to take advantage of opportunities, and more time to coordinate your entire financial strategy. Those are powerful reasons to get a professional in your corner while you're still working. Don't put off planning for your retirement. Choose to work with an independent financial professional. Why not start today? It may even help you retire earlier.
If it's important to you to get started today to refine your retirement strategy, give me a call. I'm Arwen Becker with Becker Retirement Group. Let's sit down together and look at your options. Call me at 1-800-725-8220. That's 800-725-8220. By contacting us, you may be provided with information regarding the purchase of insurance and investment products.